At least 24 people are missing as Yemen was lashed by torrential rain that triggered floods. Now the fear of waterborne diseases is looming as indicated by local authorities. The floods hit Al-Mahawit, a province west of the capital Sana'a, controlled by the Iran-aligned Houthi group, with landslides destroying 7 homes in the Milhan district. The mountains of western Yemen are prone to heavy seasonal rainfall. Since late July, flash flooding has killed 60 people and affected 268,000, according to the United Nations. Similar visuals came in from Japan, where the island country was hit by the strongest typhoon of the year, Shanshan. The typhoon has made landfall in the country's southwest, bringing torrential rain and winds of up to 250 kilometers per hour or 157 miles per hour, strong enough to destroy homes. The power company said 254,610 houses were already without electricity. There have already been reports of deaths in landslides, a major hazard in mountainous areas where tens of thousands of people have been advised to evacuate. The concerning part here is that human-caused climate breakdown has increased the occurrence of the most intense and destructive tropical cyclones. This is because warming oceans provide more energy, producing stronger storms. Moving on to global conflict news now, the missile attack exchange between Israel and Lebanon in a tit-for-tat series continues. The militant group Hezbollah, which is based in Lebanon, has traded messages with Israeli counterparts to exercise restraint, as neither of them want escalation of the cross-border. However, Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah stated that there may be a second phase of retaliatory attack on Israel. Meanwhile, a series of high-level talks in Cairo aimed at establishing a ceasefire and negotiating the release of hostages in the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict concluded without a final agreement. Meanwhile, Israel has agreed to a series of 3-day humanitarian pauses in Gaza to allow UN health officials to administer polio vaccinations in the territory. However, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu emphasized that it is not a ceasefire. In a spree of deadly terror attacks, at least 73 people died in Pakistan's province of Balochistan. The attacks were aimed at railway lines, police stations and highways. The security forces immediately launched a counter-attack on the militants, leading to dozens of casualties. The Pakistani military said 14 soldiers and police and 21 terrorists were killed during the gunfight, which followed one of the largest terror attacks in the country. Apart from gun attacks, multiple blasts also took place on the railway bridge linking the provincial capital to the rest of Pakistan. The Baloch Liberation Army, an armed group, took responsibility. Co-founder and CEO of Telegram, Pavel Durov, has been placed under formal investigation after his arrest as part of a probe into organized crime on the social media and messaging app. Russian-born Durov, who is a French citizen, was placed under investigation for allegedly failing to cooperate with authorities in criminal investigations. Durov's charges include suspected complicity in running an online platform that allows illicit transactions, images of child sex abuse, drug trafficking and fraud, as well as the refusal to communicate information to authorities, money laundering and providing cryptographic services to criminals. Durov is set to remain in judicial custody till Wednesday after being detained by French authorities. While he is yet to be charged in the case, Russia and the United Arab Emirates have requested consular access to the 39-year-old tech billionaire as he holds citizenship of both countries. On the other hand, French President Emmanuel Macron emphasized that Durov's arrest was in no way a political decision and that his country was deeply committed to freedom of expression. Hello, you're with me on Global Compass, the weekly show that updates you on all that has been happening around the world. In our next segment, let's take a look at some of the stories that were specifically featured on Strat News Global. The Bangladesh government, led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus, lifted the ban on Jamaat-e-Islami and its student wing, Islami Chhatro Shibir. The government stated it found no evidence of their involvement in terrorist activities. Jamaat-e-Islami was banned under an anti-terrorism law. The revocation takes place with immediate effect. Jamaat-e-Islami was banned from contesting elections in 2013. The court said the Jamaat's charter violated the secular constitution of Bangladesh. This is concerning news for India, as the Jamaat is seen as an anti-India party with a pro-Pakistan stance. To tackle the escalating tensions in the South China Sea, the Philippines is all set to spend at least $33 billion as it modernizes its defense in the face of growing regional tensions. The military wants to acquire more cutting-edge weaponry, Armed Forces Chief Romeo Browner told reporters hours after Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro announced the Philippines was reviewing offers to buy more weapons. It plans to spend at least $33.74 billion to modernize and boost its military's external defense capabilities, which could include buying the 40 jets, Teodoro said earlier during a congressional hearing on his department's budget. The Philippines has been embroiled in frequent run-ins at sea and on air with China in the South China Sea. Since February 2023, the Philippines has accused China of unsafe behavior on at least 12 occasions, often within the water of its EEZ. Chinese President Xi Jinping met US National Advisor Jake Sullivan on Thursday in Beijing. This is the last leg of talks during Sullivan's visit to Beijing before US elections in November. The two sides discussed further implementation of the commitments made by Biden and Xi at the November 2023 Woodside Summit. Xi told Sullivan that Beijing was committed to a stable relationship with Washington. Sullivan told Xi that Biden was committed to managing the relationship to avoid conflict and looks forward to engaging with you in coming weeks. Sullivan's visit covered a range of issues that have complicated the ties between the two countries. His entree included tensions over Taiwan, the South China Sea, and Russia. It also included the US demand for more Chinese help to prevent the flow of ingredients for fentanyl. Fentanyl is the leading cause of drug overdose in the United States. Sullivan also emphasized the need for stability in the Taiwan Strait and freedom in the South China Sea, and raised concerns about China's support for Russia's defense industrial base. Meanwhile, China approved loans worth $4.61 billion to Africa last year, marking the first annual increase since 2016, according to Reuters' analysis of lending. Africa secured more than $10 billion in loans a year from China between 2012 and 2018 under President Xi Jinping's Belt and Road Initiative, but the lending fell precipitously from the start of COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. However, last year's biggest items include a nearly $1 billion loan from China Development Bank to Nigeria for the Kaduna to Kano Railway and a similar-sized liquidity facility by the lender to Egypt's central bank. Now, China has again accelerated its investment in the African bloc to strengthen its position in the continent. The UN's ad hoc committee has drafted terms of reference for a United Nations Framework Convention on International Tax Cooperation during the second leg of the UN Global Tax Convention held earlier this month. The United Nations has drafted a blueprint for a new universal tax accord with the aim to help nations around the world boost economic growth and achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its 17 goals. A key point in this reform is to focus on equitable taxation of multinational companies and addressing tax evasion and avoidance by high net worth individuals. Influential big economies like America, Canada, Japan, etc. have already refused such proposals. In that case, how feasible is this framework? To understand what this framework means and how moving towards an equitable global taxation works, we spoke to Pallavi Dhondial Pantri and Nidhi Raj from the World of Circular Economy, or WOS. Watch this excerpt from this interview.
This blueprint that the United Nations has introduced for a universal tax accord, what exactly does it mean and what does it entail for the general public? Can you just explain that to us a little bit?
Really going back to the imperial, system where the tax practices were basically, kind of always favoring the global north, right? So we have always seen that it is never in favor of global south, countries like India, Brazil, Nigeria, and all. So with this UN global tax convention, coming up, it's actually a ground breaking initiative, I feel, that really seeks to reform the whole tax system to make it more inclusive and equitable. I'll definitely call it a historic step here.
Mhm. Now, the this proposed global tax convention, one of the goals is to attain legitimate, fair, and a stable and an all-inclusive tax system. So, how can taxing the rich, if you agree that there should be a wealth tax and the rich should be taxed, how can taxing the rich achieve equitable sustainability in development?
See, I think first we really need to understand why these people who come from these big conglomerates, they need to really paying taxes. Yes, they should be paying taxes because they are utilizing a particular land, whether it is it's their own land in the developed nation or it is India. They need to really start pumping the profits in terms of those investments back to that particular country. And if they're not doing it, I don't think they are also progressing. Definitely they have that capitalist mindset, but if I look at India, we are a mixed economy. We also understand all these things, and it really becomes an opportunity, comes as an opportunity for India also, for its government also, to really understand what this entire this taxation new taxation system entails. And if we ourselves are not strong enough in our national taxation system, because we are not able to seamlessly integrate it, whatever tax system, whether it is coming from UN or whatever it is, it's not going to work. So taxing wealthy countries or corporations, it is very important, because it is actually their duty to really understand how collaboration is going to make them progress, and also the land where they exist will progress.
Developing countries have largely supported the Global Tax Convention, right? However, industrialized nations have reservations, and there is no surprise there. So there was 110 in favor, there were 44 abstentions, 8 were against. That includes Australia, Canada, Israel, Japan, New Zealand, Korea, UK, and US.
I have a bit of a contrasting opinion. Don't we all, in simple income tax format, any country, go on a sliding scale? The richer pay more. It is a very workable format, right? I earn more, I give more. A place like Australia, where we've paid close to 45% in tax, etc. It sort of works. It does work. The formula works. However, what I feel is, instead of a corporation or a multinational who has to pay high taxes or more taxes, looking it as their duty, perhaps not. What are they? Wouldn't all of us always say, "What's in it for me?" Right? So that's where I think Singapore has a very unique style. We are a low tax company. I've said country. We have said that before. We are one of the few with carbon tax coming up, and from this year to next year, the taxation is going really, really high. However, the country is really trying to strike a balance with very mindful contributions by promoting and helping these corporations who are paying the tax, by rewarding them too. They are getting grants in return to meet more sustainable goals. So, why should it be just one way? Is what I was sort of highlighting. It is not one way duty as well, right? So, it's very well said. It is my duty, and every corporation should do that. However, the governments need to participate with me in this. And that refers us to, your SGD 17, that goal of partnerships, where we are all collaborating in this together. It should not, this whole initiative should not be seen in cynicism if we are hopeful.
Do you think it is time for developed countries to slow down? Do you think that is the only way in which some kind of balance can be achieved?
Slowing down means what? Actually decelerating our efforts. Yeah. uh, And what I really feel, rather than slowing down growth, the focus should actually be on redefining what growth means. And it's very important for the developed countries to understand the need to transition towards more sustainable practices, and also lead developing nations towards similar practices. So this economic growth should not, we need to understand, should not lead to environmental degradation. Yeah. And by when if we start to understand what circularity of business practices actually mean, leveraging the technologies, sustainable technologies, countries can actually continue to grow economically while reducing their ecological footprint also. So I strongly believe that this particular tax convention can actually support by redirecting resources from unsustainable practices which are happening right now to green initiatives that actually benefits everyone.
Exactly. What I meant by slow down economic growth was precisely this. I mean, basically indiscriminate use of resources, and somebody else somewhere else is suffering. That is what I meant.
Very well said. And you know what? Don't we all agree that we live in an ironic world, right? This whole climate change is because of the rich. It's not because of the poor who are suffering the most. The inequality that we live with, right? The adversity for the underprivileged is because of the rich. So I don't mind if they get taxed, but at the same time, being rich is not their sinful act. As long as it's, the operations are transparent and meant for a common goal. So you need a body like UN to create those common goals and frameworks. Yes, it sounds more theoretical than practical, but baby steps.
You can watch the entire interview on Strat News Global on Tuesday. Please write in to us your comments. Don't forget to like and share this video. I do hope you have subscribed to this channel and have made sure your friends and family who are interested in foreign affairs have done so as well. And it's time to wrap up this week's Global Compass. But before we let you go, last week, if you remember, we talked about the plight of Afghan women on our show, and how the latest vice and virtue doctrine is another addition to their already restricted and miserable life. However, these Afghan women, both from within the country as well as refugees, have been singing to defy the Taliban's new ban on women's voices in public. These are not just multiple women singing on social media. This is the voice of resistance, the voice of hope brewing under the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. I will see you next week. Till then, take care.
زدی تا امر ثانی مهر خاموشی دهانم را مهیا میکنی تا امر ثانی آب و نانم را
من نه آن بده ضعیفم که زهر باد بلرزم دخت افغانم و برجاست که دایم به فغانم یادم
از عشق، از امید، از فردا نمی ترسی می بوسمت در بین طالب ها نمی ترسی می بوسمت در گوشه مسجد نمی لرزی در بین عطر وحشی سنجد نمی لرزی می بوسمت در بغض و سوگواری ها می بوسیم درگیر انتحاری ها می بوسیم درگیر انتحاری ها تو مومن هستی و نمازت و سهایت هست تو فرق داری اعتراضت و سهایت